How can we heal better? As we have seen in the previous video, we are really struggling to tackle chronic conditions. And in many cases, we are not making it better. It seems that we are even making it worse. One of the biggest obstacles that is preventing us to solve our health issues is that we are framing the problem incorrectly. As Einstein famously said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes solving it. Since a well-defined problem is already half solved. But instead of carefully examining what is happening to us and to our body, we have this tendency to just run in to fix the problem without really understanding what is the root cause or the generative principle that is behind the problem. To better grasp the problem we have at hand, I think it's really good to use McGilchrist's model, how he shows the distortion of the current human perception and thinking. Of course, we will just go swiftly through his main concept, so I highly advise you to check out his work. In his work, with over 2,000 scientific researches, he presents that the two hemispheres of the brain offer two fundamentally different views of the world. The left hemisphere provides a narrow, detail-oriented perspective, literal, focus, and sometimes even rigid. The right hemisphere, on the other hand, sees the bigger picture, appreciates the nuance, the connection, and the beauty. In fact, it's not about what the hemispheres do per se, but how they do it, how they pay attention to reality in profoundly different ways. As you maybe have guessed this, our contemporary worldview it's overpowered by the left hemisphere, which is highly analytical and focused on categorization, which dominates our approach to problems, since it tends to break down things into parts and sees clarity in this fragmentation. While the left hemisphere is indeed very powerful and incredibly useful, it's not meant to be the leader. In a healthy balance, it should be guided by the right hemisphere, which perceives the bigger picture and understands the interconnected nature of reality. In modern society, however, the left hemisphere worldview became overpowering, which disconnects us from the guidance of the right hemisphere, which sees the bigger picture. This leads us to oversimplify complex issues and approach them in a way that it's ultimately ineffective. What are the practical implications for our health? Most of us, when we have a pain, we don't really spend much time thinking, what's the pain trying to tell me, what it's signaling, or what it's out of balance. Instead, we tend to do exactly the opposite of what Einstein suggests. We will usually spend 1 minute or 1% of the time thinking about what actually is the problem or what stands behind the problem. And in reverse, we will spend 99% of the time trying to suppress or just eliminate the symptom. Can you see how this is problematic? When we don't frame the problem correctly, this inevitably will lead to frustration down the line. Even for those of us that go beyond just taking painkillers and try to take care of our health, to have a healthy lifestyle, try to sleep enough, be hydrated, have a healthy diet, still many of us may get stuck only on the physical level, often failing to recognize the complexity of our nature. We are much more than physical beings. As we know, we have a wonderful capacity to experience a wide range of emotions and to think. Our essence is expressed through all these different levels. In the next video, we will go more into detail how symptoms in every level can manifest in every other level. For now, let's just look into some of the common traps we tend to fall into when we overlook the interconnectedness and the complexity of our nature. Of course, these are just some of the most common. There are many more. Let's start with the first one. Over-focusing on the physical. which will lead us to an endless search for the next best diet or next best supplement or next new natural health hack. And our symptoms may improve temporarily, but the underlying issue will remain unsolved. So the key question in this case is, are we treating the cause or just managing the symptoms? Then we have a very common trap number 2, knowing but not changing, meaning we recognize the need for our lifestyle change, for dropping smoking on alcohol or starting to do more sports, improve our diet, sleeping more, being less on the phone, etc. But we feel mysteriously stuck. Our unhealthy habit pulls us back despite our best intention. Like there is a force that we cannot overcome, it feels like, and drags us to our old unhealthy habits. Often this happens because we overlook the deeper root cause, the generative factor that is generating this behavior and that prevents lasting behavior change. In this case, the key question is what is truly holding us back. And then we have also very common trap number 3, hyper-focusing on the psychological aspects. Some of us become deeply absorbed in exploring psychological states and post-traumas to the point that healing somehow becomes elusive as we struggle to move forward. The problem is that we miss the larger picture, the interconnected nature of body, mind, and emotions. And in this case, the key question is, are we seeing the full picture of healing? All of these patterns or traps show us that we are framing the problem in a way that it's too narrow. We overlook the complexity and interconnectedness of our being, and therefore we overlook the root cause or the generative principle that is behind the problem. But when we frame the problem correctly, the solutions become much clearer and much more effective. Classical homeopathy offers a very clear approach to understanding and addressing these complexities, which we will explore in the next videos. And to conclude, let's go to the very practical, tangible takeaways that we can use to improve our own health, the health of our clients, or of the people that we love. First of all, it's to recognize our cultural, subconscious left hemisphere bias. Our subconscious tendency to perceive things as separable, measurable, and isolated one from the other. And train our capacity to see the interconnectedness of the physical, emotional, and mental levels and how they influence each other. How we can do this effectively, it's any time of the day we try to focus in seeing the interconnectedness. For example, we try to name and acknowledge the emotions that we feel. We pause several times a day and ask ourselves what I'm actually feeling right now. And we have to try to name the emotion very clearly and without judgment. Just being very compassionate, general, like free ourselves of judgment, so we can become every time more familiar with which emotions are currently flowing through our system. Secondly, connecting the dots. Reflect on how our emotions are impacting us. How are impacting our body? Is there any tension? Are we feeling relaxed? Are we clenching our jaw? Have tension in our shoulders? Or any other sensations that we may notice in our body? And how these emotions affect our mind. Are our thoughts cleared, scattered, overactive? And thirdly, also very importantly, observe our thoughts. We have few thousand thoughts every day floating through our minds. How much are we aware of them? Because they are programming actually our behavior and generating also our physical symptoms that we will look into it in the next video. So take a few moments per day to observe your thoughts, like a curious observer. Ask yourself, are they repetitive or they are constantly varying? Can you see any repetitive patterns? Do they focus on the past, on the present, or on the future? Note how your thoughts will influence your emotions and generate any physical sensations. Basically, train yourself to become more aware of the complexity of your system and how one aspect is influencing the other aspects. Hopefully, we can learn to listen better and better to the wisdom of our body. If we are producing a pain or a symptom, most probably it's not without a reason. There is something behind it, something we need to listen to. We need to address something that is out of balance, something needs more of our attention. And if we learn to work with the wisdom of the body instead of against it, we will be far better off in creating long-lasting results. Because pain actually it's a conversation that is guiding us towards better balance and healing. And if we listen to it, if we engage into this conversation, it's much more likely we will stop spinning in circles and find really lasting healing results. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you find it useful, you can watch the next video. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. And until next one, stay curious and take care.